Graduating seniors with the class of 2020 may not have had the chance for a physical graduation celebration because of COVID-19, but celebrities and even former presidents came together Saturday to make sure their shining moment was special.
LeBron James hosted Graduate Together, America Honors the High School Class of 2020. It was held live to honor the graduates.
Former President Bill Clinton told the class of 2020 that COVID-19 pandemic, quote, has given you a graduation you will never forget, and it's released you into an uncertain future. I urge you to embrace the challenge. The world needs you.
He continues, your country needs you. Even before the outbreak, you knew you were entering a world of growing inequalities and divisive tribalism, with people pulling away from those who are different from them.
Clinton said, seething resentments and a broken information system have empowered those who profit and power for themselves, are willing to inflame our worst instincts. It's put your future, our democracy, and our very planet at risk. I know you've been dealt a hard hand, but you can play it well.
President Obama said, don't be afraid. Do what you think is right and build a community. You won't get it right every time. You'll make mistakes, like we all do. But if you listen to the truth that's inside yourself, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, people will notice. They'll gravitate toward you, and you'll be a part of the solution instead of a part of the problem.
The incredible graduation event began with a high school virtual choir that you just saw. Everyone here at Q News Tonight thought it was a perfect way to dedicate our Monday, May 18th news broadcast, celebrating the 7.6 million graduating seniors, including 532,000 from the LGBT community.
I can only imagine that this is a very difficult time for everyone who's graduating. It's a difficult time for everyone. But I know that especially within the LGBTQ community, now is the time that your strong community ties can bring you together, and what better way than through arts?
Beyond President Clinton and President Obama showing us a great example of what true leadership looks like, our graduates are learning about creativity and learning to adjust and adapt to the new normal. So this is a great graduation. Like the president said, this is one that will go down in the history books.
We are dedicating Q News Tonight to our graduating seniors from high school and college, and we're going to do a commentary later in the show to support the success that you have already demonstrated. So again, good evening, America. It's 7 p.m. Monday, May 18, 2020, and it is time to queer up the news. We are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your stories we're going to tell this evening on Q News Tonight. Tonight on the world's first live daily queer evening news show.
Tonight's news about the gay community and the news from an LGBTQ perspective. Are our gay stories important to you? In headlines, politics, entertainment, gay culture, travel, religion, and more. Reported by respected anchors.
Out of the closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight. Thank you for joining Q News Tonight. We are live. This is a live show, so anything can happen. Tonight we bring you the news of and a perspective from the LGBT community. Be sure and stay tuned as we bring you some amazing good news stories, even despite coronavirus pandemic. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and this is my co-guest anchor, Chef Josie.
Well, hi everyone, and good evening. I am so looking forward to sharing with you the powerful words and the powerful example of leadership that President Obama is now weighing in on this race for November.
And anchor Napoleon Plays.
Hey everyone, tune in to make sure that you can find out if the King of the Sea is actually about to harm us. Stay tuned for more.
Let's cue up the news. Tonight we begin with breaking queer news. And the queer news is, well, about us. History has been made today as we report on the Happening Out television network, including digital television shows It's Happening Out, Q News Tonight, and Happening.Fun. We have become the most popular LGBTQ media platform in the world.
Everyone was excited to learn today from Alexa Analytics that for the first time ever, an LGBTQ video media website cracked the elite, top most traffic and popular websites in the United States.
For the first time ever, we broke into the elite 10,000 at a stunning 9,462. This ranking is based on strength of the number of people visiting and watching our stories daily.
This, by the way, is out of 900 million USA websites.
We are proud of the elite company in the LGBTQ community we are now walking shoulder to shoulder with, including our favorite and the historic Advocate News magazine at 11,467.
Our favorite LGBTQ lifestyle magazine, Out, at 14,337.
America's most important LGBTQ advocacy rights organization, the HRC, at 22,281.
America's most important LGBTQ media and image advocacy organization, GLAAD, at 52,196.
We are a new addition, live video news and a talk show and entertainment.
We are standing on the shoulders of giants in our LGBTQ community, and we will continue to do our absolute best, especially in pandemic. But for today, history is made.
Combined with 2.2 million viewers of our shows in April, Happening Out Television Network has become the #1 LGBTQ media platform in the world, touching more of our community in live LGBTQ news and entertainment than any other source.
And we are just getting started. We are committed to our LGBTQ community, and thank you for making this happen.
We are also proud to share with you that our LGBTQ television network supports the unique live broadcast of Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday church service. 32,000 watched this Sunday's celebration service for the world's most popular LGBTQ queer religious broadcast. And we are proud of our diverse 501c3 and charitable support.
So it's time to queer up the news. First, let's catch up on all of the news surrounding COVID-19 with our quarantine quickies. The first story tonight is our daily reporting of the coronavirus facts, especially important to the LGBTQ community. We report on the coronavirus case numbers for today. Based on the standard acceptance of 7% of population in the LGBT community, the world's LGBTQ COVID-19 cases now stand at 339,000. America's LGBTQ COVID-19 cases stand at over 107,000 in our community. Total world cases is at 4.8 million, and total USA cases is over 1.5 million. We remind you that America is ground zero for this pandemic. The USA is just 4.4% of the world's population, and today America is 31.6% of all of the cases in the world. That percentage is slightly lower today. We now report on coronavirus deaths through today. The world's LGBT COVID-19 deaths currently stand at over 22,000. America's LGBTQ COVID-19 deaths stand at over 6,300. While total world deaths is 317,000 and total USA deaths are over 91,000. Again, America is a near third of all COVID-19 deaths on this planet, and the USA is just 4.4% of the world's population, with 28.6% of all of the deaths in the world, and that percentage is slightly higher today. President Trump and Vice President Pence have said a lot of ridiculous things about testing in the LGBT community. Of course, we've prepared it, so watch this.
Importantly, anybody right now and yesterday, anybody that needs a test gets a test. They're there. They have the tests. And the tests are beautiful. Anybody that needs a test gets a test. And we, in addition to that, are giving out millions of tests, and every day we're doing it exponentially. We're picking up, and what we'll be doing in the very near future is going to certain areas of our country and do massive testing. It's not necessary, but it would be a good thing to have.
Don't you need that, though, Mr. President, to make sure people are safe going back to work? You don't want to send people back to the workplace.
We want to have it, and we're going to see if we have it. Do you need it? No. Is it a nice thing to do? Yes. Other countries do it, but they do it in a limited form. We'll probably be the leader of the pack.
So when you said 4 million tests 7 weeks ago, you were just talking about tests being sent out, not actually being completed? I'm a little confused.
John, I think they're precisely correct that in my first week on this job, we were informed that HHS, I believe IDT was the vendor, Admiral Giroir, that had distributed 1 million, was distributing another 4 million, and we believe they did. But again, those were tests that, frankly, but for the president's leadership, we'd still be waiting on those tests to be done in many cases.
So the media likes to say we have the most cases, but we do by far the most testing. If we did very little testing, we wouldn't have the most cases. So in a way, by doing all of this testing, we make ourselves look bad.
I continue to say wow. So let's look at the testing facts today. As of today, we have tested just short of 12 million tests taken, and contact source tracing is even dramatically lower. But this continues to be a failure, F for failure. There are 328 million Americans, which means we've only tested 3.6% of population. The medical community recommends that our testing rate should be 10% for reopening. Despite what Trump and Pence tell the LGBT community, testing and contact source tracing is our #1 solution in the coming months to pandemic. Q News Tonight recognizes our Hall of Fame of the top states in testing, which includes, as of today, #3 New York at 7.3%, #2 North Dakota, #1 Rhode Island. And congratulations, Rhode Island, for being the first and only state so far to meet the 10% goal. Q News Tonight recognizes our Hall of Fame shame states doing the worst job in testing. LGBTQ America, gosh, we hope you don't live in one of these states. #5 is Oregon at just 2.3%, #4 Colorado, #3 Kansas, #2 Idaho, and you've heard me say the exact same number and the exact same Puerto Rico for more than a month.
Quarantine Quickies. Trump calls Obama incompetent after the former president slams his pandemic response. Watch this video we've prepared for you.
This pandemic has finally torn back the curtain on the idea that so many of the folks in charge know what they're doing. A lot of them aren't even pretending to be in charge. Doing what feels good, what's convenient, what's easy, that's how little kids think. Unfortunately, a lot of so-called grown-ups, including some with fancy titles and important jobs, still think that way, which is why things are so screwed up.
Look, he was an incompetent president. That's all I can say. Grossly incompetent. Thank you.
President Donald Trump on Sunday dismissed his predecessor as he said, "Look, he was an incompetent president. That's all I can say. Grossly incompetent." A day after former President Barack Obama said leaders weren't, quote, even pretending to be in charge amid the coronavirus pandemic.
Since leaving office, Obama has largely avoided weighing in on politics or how his successor is doing. But recently, with the coronavirus outbreak taking a huge toll on the country, he has become more outspoken. Last week, on a call with roughly 3,000 former staffers, Obama said the government has taken on a, quote, what's in it for me mindset. And he called the White House's pandemic response, quote, an absolute chaotic disaster.
On Saturday, in a virtual address to graduates of historically black colleges and universities, Obama broached the topic again by saying, quote, This pandemic has finally torn back the curtain on the idea that so many of the folks in charge know what they're doing.
He didn't name names, but the implication was clear. The president's brief comments on Sunday came as he pushed the unfounded Obamagate conspiracy theory, alleging that officials in the previous administration sought to undermine Trump and target his top associates, like former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
White House economic advisor Peter Navarro said, quote, "I'm glad Mr. Obama has a new job as Joe Biden's press secretary." Navarro said on ABC's This Week, referring to the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, quote, "As far as I'm concerned, his administration was a kumbaya of incompetence in which we saw millions of manufacturing jobs go off to China."
LGBT America, get your popcorn ready.
I am really excited to see Obama chime in more and more. I think that's what everyone was laughing about every time that we've played this clip. Just it's so fun to hear his actual opinions and take down some of this political wall that we're often behind. And I really want to hear what's in Obama's brain, not just what he has to put out because he thinks it's the right thing to say.
Quite frankly, President Obama is displaying for everyone to see what a real president looks like and how a real president leads. I'm so excited to hear him weighing in and coming to the American public to succinctly communicate with the American nation at this moment. We need leadership, and, well, Joe Biden needs him too.
A fight between Trump, who is president, and Obama as former president. Ooh, the odds in Las Vegas, we already know what they are. We continue in Quarantine Quickies by reporting tonight economic toll of COVID-19 for the LGBT community is disastrous. We've prepared a video. Watch this.
Welcome back. Data download time. The economic toll of COVID-19 becomes more apparent with each new set of job and sales figures. But the pain is not spread evenly across the economy, at least not yet. The month of April saw 20.5 million jobs lost across the U.S. economy, with many sectors losing millions. Manufacturing lost 1.3 million, retail 2.1, 2.5 million from education and health services. But the biggest decline, not surprisingly, was from leisure and hospitality. A whopping 7.7 million jobs lost, 38% of all job losses in April alone. But even among leisure and hospitality jobs, the losses are not evenly spread, as we see in an analysis from MC, a labor market analytics firm. For instance, the performing arts and sports cut 217,000 jobs last month. Hotels and accommodations lost about 839,000 positions. Amusements and gaming lost 1 million jobs. And then the hardest hit of all, food services, everything from full-service restaurants to bars and caterers, lost 5.5 million jobs.
New reporting shows the dramatic job loss impact on the LGBTQ community. Studies show leisure and hospitality is the #1 sector for employment for the LGBT community, and April's statistics are chilling. Data for April shows 20.5 million jobs were lost, and leisure and hospitality accounted for 38% of all of the jobs lost.
That's 7.7 million, including 217,000 in performing arts, 839,000 in hotels. The numbers are astounding. 1 million in gambling and amusement, and food and bar service at 5.5 million. That means an estimated 560,000 LGBTQ Americans have lost their jobs in leisure and hospitality. Nevada, for example, is now at 30% unemployment because of reliance on leisure and hospitality.
Even worse, the ripple effect in other sectors creates secondary impacts. 1 million have lost their jobs in other industries because of the losses in leisure and hospitality. This means more than 10 million are now unemployed in leisure and hospitality in total, and estimates are that more than 700,000 LGBTQ Americans are now without a job.
This is believed to be the largest job loss in the LGBT community in history. The old phrase seems to be true. It's a recession when your neighbor loses their job. It's a depression when you lose yours.
You know, there's a large portion of the LGBTQ community that felt, and I'm not speaking on behalf of myself or anyone in particular, that when we won marriage equality, that was the end of the fight. Obviously, there are a lot of rights that we still need in the US and around the world, including job protection when we have jobs. But this is only going to make it harder for the LGBTQ community without being a protected, non-discriminatory clause of people that can get jobs back.
I think this number really hits close to home. Us here broadcasting from the gayest place on planet Earth, we see a lot of our LGBTQ brothers and sisters who are being affected by this crisis. We're seeing it firsthand, and it's as a restaurant owner and just being and experiencing this as a part of someone who is affected by that number, you know, this is a challenge. This is a challenge, and this is really the moment where we're going to have to dig deep. We're going to have to adapt, and we're going to have to reach into our very gay, creative gene and recreate.
It is breathtaking. Leisure and hospitality, #1 employment sector for the LGBT community, and 700,000 LGBTQ jobs lost. It's almost impossible to wrap your mind around it. Lost in 1 month. Amazing.
Tonight, we queue up our segment called Coronavirus Good News. After we finish our quarantine quickies, we like to lighten it up. We've reported all of the statistics and facts for the day, but now we want to report the things that made us smile today in Coronavirus Good News. Coronavirus Good News. John Krasinski remakes The Office Wedding for married couples. John Krasinski continues to make us smile with his YouTube show, Good News. The Office star creates a dream moment for a married couple who are super fans of the show.
Especially the famous The Office scene when the staff danced down the aisles at the wedding. Krasinski surprised the bride and groom by getting the co-stars to recreate the moment in an at-home and virtual way.
And that makes this Q News Tonight's Coronavirus Good News. Watch what he did.
I don't even know where to go from here. That's a lie. I do. And guys, there's only one way out of this wedding. And Susan and John, because you so elegantly ripped off our show for your proposal, I feel like it's only fitting that you rip off the wedding too. So, let's rock.
That made me smile. We would like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living here in Fort Lauderdale, for making this set in this living museum that we're at possible.
Tonight we are broadcasting from our studio set in the middle of the World AIDS Museum and Education Center. The museum is in Wilton Manors in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
We joke, we're coming from the gayest place on planet Earth.
Tonight we bring you a mini sample of Q's Q&A on coronavirus and the LGBTQ community.
Every Thursday night on Q News Tonight at 7 p.m., we have experts to answer your questions that need answered.
We invite you to join our special Facebook group to ask all of your questions.
Tonight we give you some examples of questions viewers are asking, and on Thursday we have medical experts help with the answers.
We queue up the Q's Q&A. A viewer asked tonight, as our sample question, how do you feel about Florida and 48 other states reopening today?
I didn't know all but one state reopened today.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, well, they're always ahead in healthcare and they offer the most, so I'm not surprised by that. I'm not going out more than I need to right now. Maybe in 2 weeks when we see the numbers, because the states that already opened in the past have cities that are increasing in numbers of reported cases and deaths. So I'll wait.
The truth of the matter is we haven't even hit the threshold set in recommendation by the CDC. So if we're going to go against what the White House is even recommending, it doesn't really make sense. We're living in a world of contradiction at the moment.
I think we're going to be in the situation in the next weeks and month where we're going to get to the point where we accept the number of cases that come along with the consequences of our choices and the number of deaths that come along with it. And it really begins today. We continue in queuing up the USA by reporting the first waiver to allow a trans person to serve in the military as a post-trans military ban issued by the Navy happens today. Napoleon, tell us about what's happening with the Navy.
The U.S. Navy has granted the first ever waiver under President Trump's transgender military ban to an individual who had sued to remain in the service. The news was first reported by CNN. The waiver was granted to the Jane Doe in the case against the transgender military ban, filed in March by LGBTQ and defenders and the National Center for Lesbian Rights.
The anonymous Navy officer had served 2 extended tours of duty over 9 years and faced discharge because she's transgender. Jennifer Levi, Transgender Rights Project Director for GLAAD, confirmed in a statement the waiver was granted to her client. Levi
said the ban has been in place for over a year, and this is the first waiver to be granted. While we are relieved that our client, a highly qualified Navy officer, will be able to continue her service, there are other equally qualified transgendered service members who have sought waivers and are still in limbo, despite being perfectly fit to serve.
Lieutenant Brittany Stevens, a Navy spokesperson, confirmed to the Washington Blade via email that the waiver was granted. Stevens said, "The acting secretary of the Navy has approved a specific request for exemption related to military service by transgender persons and persons with gender dysphoria."
This service member requested a waiver to serve in their preferred gender to include obtaining a gender marker change in defense enrollment eligibility reporting system and being allowed to adhere to standards associated with their preferred gender, such as uniforms and grooming.
The transgendered military ban enacted by Trump tweeted in 2017 that, excuse me, he'd ban transgendered people from the military in any capacity. It requires the discharge of any service member diagnosed with gender dysphoria and bars the enlistment of any individual who has received transition-related care. But the policy has an exemption to allow transgendered service members to continue serving if they come out when open service instituted in 2016 under the Obama administration.
Additionally, the policy allows senior defense officials to grant waivers to transgender individuals facing discharge wishing to enlist in the armed forces.
I mean, I think we're seeing that the only way that Trump responds or Trump's administration responds is in the only way he understands, and that's by being sued. This is a battle that our LGBTQ community is going to have to rally behind, and luckily Obama placed something in the law that he can't overturn.
The situation for the trans community and the military is so severe that a full year after the ban, we are doing a story on a single example of exemption as being a big news story item. It is for this Navy woman, but it's sad in terms of what's happening to trans in the United States military.
That's definitely true. I fear what this means going forward, because I am positive this is going to be the single mark in favor of Trump supporting the LGBTQ community against the literally 300 or so more that advocacy groups across international platforms have said he has violated. So this one thing, and it's not a little thing, and if we see more people, that will be great that follow suit with this, but it's going to be used as this blowhorn for Trump as if he's being great toward the LGBTQ community, and that's just not the case as of yet.
We move on tonight by having Q News Tonight's commentary. The not so happy LGBTQ graduation for the class of 2020. This is usually a joyous time of the year for LGBTQ young people graduating high school and college, but not for the class of 2020. A huge class this year of 7.6 million Americans are graduating. An estimated 532,000 LGBTQ Americans are graduating. But with COVID-19 pandemic, what kind of world are they graduating into? The losses are substantial. Think about it. No sports titles, a fun high school skip day that everyone knew we were going to do, but was amazingly fun all the same. Proms, college formals, and basic graduation ceremonies. Perhaps even more important is the ability to say goodbye to friends and teachers that you have known for your entire life. And instead of a celebration for the class of 2020, they move into the world as they face fear and uncertainty, all because of a virus called corona. Many of us in the LGBTQ community who have faced many challenges in our life may say, why is this a big deal? Well, the mental health answers that question. They explain that graduates are in a crucial stage of emotional development, and that uncertainty of what's next means effects for years to a lifetime. The intellectual and economic effect on the class of 2020 is incredible. Disney, for example, has announced their internship program is being placed on hold. And for every gay boy in America, that is trauma. With 100,000 permanent business closures already, 36 million unemployed, dramatic job losses, whether temporary high school jobs or post-college careers, fear is tantamount for an already stressed young LGBTQ community. The mental health community has developed a new rare partnership with economists, calling this unique time for the class of 2020 as the scarring. Like strip mining the landscape, an entire part of those 7.6 million are stripped away. It's called scarring. Fortunately, it's not all gloom and doom. Professionals have some recommendations, including remembering it is not defining. Don't deny this, face it, talk openly about it, grieve, and then it's okay to cry. Professionals recommend that the class of 2020 find ways to think outside of the COVID-19 box. You must be creative and implement new thinking options that graduates that came before you never had to do. Look, I graduated a very long time ago, but in so many ways, the recent days have caused me to admire and then respect your efforts in your handling of this crisis and what your next steps will be. I frankly can't imagine as a graduating senior handling what has been forced on you. That means you're going to be far more interesting, spectacular, and successful than I ever was. You will be famous forever. This is your Pearl Harbor, your Normandy invasion, your Stonewall riots. 50 years from now, the LGBTQ class of 2020 will be known by every American for what your amazing next steps to lead America will be. And for that, everyone at Q News Tonight congratulates you. We end tonight's broadcast with the big finish. Short story mentions of LGBTQ news or news with a gay perspective. So here is tonight's the big finish. Tropical Storm Arthur is in the Atlantic now.
The only Arthur in my life is Aquaman, Arthur Curry. Because Jason Momoa is the next best thing to Henry Cavill. Hashtag not all fish.
Typical man, goes up north and leaves me high and dry. Trust, no wetness here.
I am now realizing that Arthur is the second least threatening name to exist in our language, behind only Darren. May, first storm already, COVID-19. Wow, it's going to be a great year. The big finish. Fans are saying this year's Drag Race Top 3 is the best of all time.
It was a very strong season with the clear frontrunner even being edited out of the entire thing. But the best top 3 of all time, maybe I'm partial to season 6 or season 9. But what do I know? I don't even watch it.
I'm too busy watching We're Here on Netflix to keep up. Besides, I have a race of my own, the mayor's race of Wilton Manor.
I, for one, totally love Drag Race. What the, with all of the drag queens and everything. Yeah, I hope the tall one with a lot of makeup wins. The big finish. Snoop Dogg revealed on Instagram he listens to Let It Go from Frozen to unwind.
Forget his insanely successful music career. Why is anyone surprised that the face of marijuana, dreadlocks, and chilling out with post-prison Martha Stewart is listening to a song called Let It Go?
Idina Menzel responded by listening to Snoop Dogg Drop It Like It's Hot. She was quoted as saying she thought it said drop it like it's hard this entire time, proving conclusively she is not a gay man.
No. After having listened to the song nonstop for years, gosh, I hate to admit that, on many radio stations, now it feels like it's a very good time to ask Snoop to give me some of whatever it is he has been doing to help him continue to enjoy after all of these years. No disrespect intended, Elphaba. That's the character from Frozen, right? The big finish. No Context Monday. Trans Matrix director Lily Wachowski tells Elon Musk and Ivanka Trump, fuck both of you.
Directed The Matrix and dumped a megaton of sass on idiots. What can't this woman do?
I would pay money for her and Ivanka Trump to be in a steel cage for 15 minutes. My money's on Lily.
Actually, I'm a little scared because while this may be true on what she said, I wouldn't want to mess with Musk. I wouldn't put it past him to build a giant Death Star and destroy all of us from orbit. California goes first, Texas is saved. Dude's just got enough crazy in him to do it. The big finish. Happy trails to Fred Willard, dead at 86.
Okay, so I knew who he was because he is a comedic character in dozens of amazing shows, including basically everything by Christopher Guest mockumentary series. But fun fact, I learned that he is the only live actor to appear in a Pixar film, and that was in WALL-E. Rest in peace.
Willard was fantastic in everything he was in, and he brought a lot of laughs. He's going to be missed.
Willard's last tweet was mourning the passing of Jerry Stiller. To our dismay, he did not have to be separated from his old friend for very long. Farewell, Mr. Willard. The big finish. Happy 50th birthday to Tina Fey.
Politicians know you as Sarah Palin. Gamers know you as Bayonetta. Homos know you as the maker of Mean Girls. Stoners know you for Kimmy Schmidt. And theater kids love you for being an SNL legend. From every part of me, you are a great role model. And thank you, Tina Fey. Happy birthday. Thank you for creating everything that you do. I'd call you a genius, but clearly you would have cast me by now if you were.
Her character on 30 Rock, Liz Lemon, was always implied to be a lesbian on the show as a joke, but if only a younger Josie could have been so lucky. Happy birthday, girl.
In 2008, Tina Fey stepped into the spotlight to play Sarah Palin on SNL and sent shockwaves around the world in one of the most horrifying and hilarious parodies of all time. She made it believable that it was possible to see Russia from her house. Happy birthday, Ms. Fey.
That's it for today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Remember, if it's important to the LGBTQ community, it's important to Q News Tonight. But you must help us. Click subscribe on your YouTube and share this news.
We are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. This is the only source of live LGBTQ news in the entire world, and your community needs your support.
You are not alone. We will get through this crisis.
We are here with you, and this is Q News Tonight.
So thank you for joining us. I'm Al Ferguson, and on behalf of Chef Josie and Napoleon Plays, we'll see you daily and tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Good night.